Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here. Today I'm bringing you guys 5 things that I would improve if, for whatever reason, I was put in charge of Warships and I got to, just say, do this, fix this. These are 5 things that I myself would improve. I had 10 things, but I figured with the amount that I'm going to talk about each one of these topics, the video would probably be in excess of 30 or 40 minutes long, so I just cut it down to 5. So hopefully it's 10-15-ish minute video and not an extremely long one. Now, unlike most of my list, this list is actually in descending order. So number 5 would be something that isn't really crucial right now, while number 1 is obviously much more important. So this is in a particular order, unlike the last list that I did. And again, this is all my opinion. Just give you guys an idea of when, if you're watching this video in the future, this is coming out in June. I'm actually recording this June 9th of 2019, so this is 8.4, so this is taking all the stuff that's going on in 8.4 into mind. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get off at number 5, and that would be upgrading older ships models. And again, this is number 5, not that pressing of an issue, but for someone who spends hundreds, well, I've probably spent thousands of hours staring at some of these ship models, it would be a welcome change if some of these models got improved, some higher definition textures and some better detail on them. The easiest way to tell which ships in the game are old and which ones are new is to look at their bridge. The older ships, you cannot see into their bridge. Their bridge windows are blacked out. But on some of the newer ships, you can look into the bridge, see their controls and everything. It's very nice, and I love seeing that level of detail, especially in a game which is free to play. And it's amazing when I can see that detail in these ships. And not too long ago, I think it was 1 or 2 patches ago, the Yamato got, her model got updated, and they went through, and I think they either slapped the Musashi model on there and just went back and added in, like Yami's AA and stuff. And it is so much better. It looks very, very pretty and looks wonderful. You can see into the bridge, see all the controls there, and it's just beautiful right now. And if you go look at a ship like the Montana, which is one of the first tier 10 battleships ever added into the game, her windows are blacked out. If you look at some of the textures around the ship, they're still hanging on. It still looks fine in my opinion, but it's starting to show its age, and it would be very lovely if they would just give some of these older ships some love. And you can see the Iowa too. The Iowa really doesn't make sense to me why they haven't done this yet, because if you look at the Missouri model, it's in high definition. You can see into the bridge and such. It'd be very easy for them to just take the Missouri model and change it over to the Iowa. All you have to do is take the markings off of it that say Missouri everywhere and the American flag on top of, I think it's the number 2 turret in the front. That's all you would have to do to improve the Iowa model. And of course, there are many older ships, ships just as old as the Missouri, as the Iowa and the Montana in the game. So they also need a little bit of love. And again, this isn't a really pressing issue, just for guys like me that have more beefy rigs. I like seeing that amount of detail in a game. Okay, moving on to number 4. This is kind of along the same tune as that. It would be nice if they could improve the game's performance. Now, World of Warships is not a very demanding game, which means that, again, guys like me with beefier rigs, I would like to be able to really crank things up to 11 and see the game in its full glory, which I can do. I can set everything to maximum, but for some reason, I'm not sure if it's a game engine glitch or just something isn't like streamlined right or optimized right, because when I turn, I think it's anti-aliasing and the C detail up to very high and maximum, or whatever their top settings are, my frame rate goes from being, well, and again, the game's frame rate's locked at like 75, 77 FPS, which I constantly sit at when I'm playing the game, in 4K too. And I crank those settings up to their maximum, it's like my frame rate tanks from 75 down to the low 40s. And it's like, what the heck? And I'm not talking about setting, the anti-aliasing and the C detail or reflections or whatever it is. I'm not going from maximum to very high, from maximum to, low or off. I'm going from maximum to very high. I'm only taking it down a notch, and it seems that at that point, my rig caps out the game, but then I crank it up just one notch, and then the frame rate tanks. That seems to be an optimization issue. I have a really beefy rig. I recorded 4K, I edited in 4K, so I gotta have a good rig for that. And I play in 4K too. I don't just play World of Warships in 4K. I play several other games in 4K or 1440p at max settings, and they don't give me any issues. So that does seem to be just a bug or something that isn't optimized right somewhere in the game engine. It would be nice if they could streamline that out. Again, not a big issue right now, but one that I would like to see improved. Okay, third. This is a bit more pressing. For the spotting done by aircraft, I believe there needs to either be a 6 to 8 second delay between the plane spotting whatever ship they spot and that ship being visible to the rest of the team. And that never failed. And it's poor destroyer players right now. They're really feeling this, unless you're in an AA destroyer like the Kid or what's the Soviet destroyer that just freaking eats planes. I think it's the Grozov or something like that. They get spotted and then they're detected instantly. Everyone can see them. They get absolutely friggin' melted by the enemy team. And it really does seem to be doing the exact opposite of what war games are trying to do with the destroyers class, and then being spotted and getting dunked on from longer ranges, because that was the whole point of the battleship AP versus DD changes. They didn't want destroyer players getting blapped by a battleship from a Montana shooting gun at max range. They didn't want the destroyer being crippled by just a salvo like that. But then they had in the planes in the game that can now just spot the destroyer within frickin' 10-15 seconds of the match starting, and then the destroyer player gets nuked into oblivion before they even have a time to fully deploy their smoke screen. And I know some of you guys are probably surprised by this, because I battleship main and destroyers are kind of the bane of my existence, but that really is unfair for a destroyer player who's trying to get up into the cap. They just get freaking nuked with minimal chance for them to do anything about it. So this delay, it would allow the carrier player to still focus on the destroyer and start getting their attack runs in. But it also gives the destroyer player a chance to either pop their smoke or start running back to their team. And this would of course be simulating the pilots spotting the destroyer, radoring back to their carrier the position of the destroyer or whatever ship they're spotting, and then the carrier would then relay that information to the fleet. Seems to be a pretty easy way to fix it. I know Wargaming is saying like, oh, there's going to be like a 15-second delay for the planes launching at the start of the match, a 10-second delay for the planes to start, and I'm like, well, that seems a little convoluted, and a little complicated and all that. Oh, and also, I think my favorite one was that, like, the air detection radius of the ships would slowly increase throughout the match. I'm like, what the heck? No, you don't need that. Just put a delay on the carrier spotting, or the plane spotting the ship, and that ship's location being relayed to the rest of the team. That seems to be the easiest way to do it. They did with radar, and in my opinion, it's working great with radar. And I don't see why they just don't apply it to planes. That would literally be the easiest fix they could do. All right, number 2. This is IFHE changes. Now, Wargaming has already said that they're going to change the way IFHE works, which I do certainly think is a much needed change, given the increase in what I've seen called, and what I certainly like calling them, minigun ships. Ships like the Harugamo, the Wusta, the Smolensk, and the new Tier 10 French cruiser coming out. These are ships just bristling with small caliber guns that reload in like freaking 3 or 4 seconds, or heck, I think you get the Harugamos down to like 1 second with Adrenaline Rush if you're running Yamamoto and all the correct things happen, which is a bit ridiculous in my opinion, but hey, they're in the game, so we gotta deal with them. And with IFHE right now, you can improve the penetration value of the HE shells, get them up to 32 millimeters, and at that point, you can just dunk on anybody if you're in a good position, especially with the Wusta, who can hug their island waifu and just keep dunking on battleships for days. And since it is a Wusta and has amazing AA, carriers can't really touch it unless you're a slingshot master. And it's extremely frustrating for battleship players because not only is my health just being chewed up by the never-ending rain of HE spam, but fires are being set left, right, and center on my ship, and it's either I hold damage con until I get 3 fires on me, or and then shit after that. It doesn't really even matter because once your damage con goes off active, you just get even more fires set on your ship. And I mean, I get that cruisers and destroyers need a way to damage battleships because in real life, HE would have little to no effect against a battleship. And this is a game, I understand that. But getting your health just chewed up by HE pinning the parts of your ship which are covered in 32 millimeters of armor, which for most battleships, it's their bow and their stern and most part of their decks. Some battleships have better deck armor than others, but it's places that aren't hard for a cruiser to hit or a destroyer to hit. So my change to this would make it to where you take IFHE, you get the same boost to the pin value as the current IFHE skill, but instead it cuts your chance of fire by either 60 or 50%. Like just a huge slash to your chance of starting a fire. You have 2 choices. You can either have a ship that's good at starting fires, or a ship that can, with HE, pin the 32 millimeter sections of the ships. And I'm talking about mostly at tier 10 because that's where this really comes into play. That's where you get the really bonkers HE spamming ships. And of course, you could scale this down by tier if you don't want as big of a change to. Say tier 7 and below ships. Tier 8 and above ships can have the big 50 or 60% cut to the chance of starting a fire, and tier 7 and below can have a different ratio, just like the manual fire control for secondaries. Tier 7 and up, you get a bigger boost to the accuracy, while tier 6 and below, it's much less. And you could divide it up like that, and that would be an easy way to balance that out amongst the tiers. Because again, at tier 8 and up, that's when you start seeing these really cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, HE spammy ships. Alright, so number 1, also going along with the tune of number 2, is that I do believe there needs to be a change to the way fires work in the game. And this is also, again, dealing with the IFHE and just the HE minigun ships, and that is, it's a very simple fix, and I don't know why it hasn't been implemented yet. It's add damage saturation to fires. Really easy to add, it makes perfect sense. And for those of you that don't know, when a fire is set anywhere on the ship, it burns for a certain percentage of the ship's health. Say whatever ship it gets set a fire on, it's going to burn for, just for an example, I don't know if this is an accurate number to any ship out there, it's going to burn for 100 points of health per second. Okay, fair enough. So with a 50-second fire, if you don't have any type of fire flags or a survivability build on, it's going to burn for 50 seconds at 100 points a second. Okay, but say that fire is set on the bow. Anytime a fire gets set on a ship, the model changes. The area looks scarred, it looks burned, it's charred, it's usually smoking or even glowing after because it's just been burned. Now, if a ship sets another fire in that exact same area, it's going to burn for 100 points of health per second for whatever time that the fire is going to burn for. Adding damage saturation to that, which if you don't know, that is whenever a certain part of your ship has been damaged to a certain degree, there are no longer any more hit points or far less hit points in that area of the ship. Say you've taken 3 or 4 torpedoes to your bow. Your bow has less hit points now because it's been drained of hit points from the damage from the torpedoes. So apply that to fires. That means that area of the ship's been burned. It's crispy now. You can change. You look at it in the game right now. It's black. It's charred. It's burnt. The rigging, the deck wood, or whatever, it's been burned. It's no longer there, or a significant portion of it is no longer there. So then, after that fire's been burned, if a second fire gets started there, it would only burn for, let's say, 75 points per second. I don't have an exact figure in there, but that seems like a decent drop off. It would just be burned for 75 points per second, and then if a third fire gets started there, I don't know, 50 points per second, and then a fourth, 25, because by the time 4 fires have been on that area of the ship, there can't be very much left. Now, naturally, if you use damage con, that would replenish the health points in that the hit points in that area, and then it would again, if a fire gets started there, it would then burn again at the full value of whatever, 100 points per second. It would still burn at that full value once the amount of hit points has been restored to that area of the ship. Very easy way to combat the influx of these HE spammy ships, which, I mean, we're getting, again, 2 more of them in the near future, it seems. Probably the next patch, or if not the next patch, certainly the patch after that for sure. Looking at the amount of time that a ship is announced to release, it's usually about 4 months, and that time is coming up bonus for the Smolensk and the whatever the French tier 10 ship is. And this would, because it is such a pain right now in the game with just the Harugumo and the Wusta and a couple of other ships. But it's manageable right now because there's only 2 of them. If you, well, not if, when they add more ships, it's going to become an even bigger issue. I mean, what sense is there for a Harugumo to just keep slamming HE on the bow of a Kurfürst or a Yami or heck, a Salem, a Wusta, whose armor is certainly thick enough to stop any AP rounds from penetrating the bow and anything. Then they just get melted to death via the HE spam from the pins and from the fires and such. And again, I get it's a game, but this really does need to get toned down before it gets extremely out of hand and people really start to just get frustrated and leave, because it is, at the end of the day, it is very frustrating to just sit there in a battleship and get, or heck, any ship, and just get HE spammed to death from some destroyer or cruiser hiding in smoke behind an island that you yourself can do absolutely nothing about except reverse and pray he doesn't set too many fires. It's frustrating. This would be a great way to relieve a lot of that frustration. Alright guys, so that's just 5 things I would like to see changed in the game. What do you guys agree with me? Do you disagree? What 5 things would you change in the game? And again, there's more, add more to do with the economy and more with the AA, but I figured these are 5 that, because the AA would have been a really obvious one to put on here. And these are just 5 that I thought that really just stood out to me, that these kind of, again, 3 down, more important, 4 and 5, just some things that would be nice, but 3 down, those are probably the 3 most important that I see right now. Alright guys, I hope you have a wonderful, oh god, when's this video coming out? Saturday, and I hope to see you guys. Oh, if you haven't joined the Discord, links in the description down below. Also subscribe to the channel. I'm recording this way in advance because I'm going on a trip. So we may have passed 3,000, we may not have passed 3,000 yet, but if we pass 3,000, we're on our way to 3,500. If we haven't, God, we gotta be really close. So hit that subscribe button and drop a like and help us out there. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed. I'll have to catch all of you guys in the next one.